We're going to look at working with files in Python, and they're going to be text files. There are different types of text files we can work with, but for the time being I've got a file, I've called it test file. It's a .txt file and it has some stuff in it. So basically there's lines of text just written there, and we're going to do three possible things to it. There are more, but we'll do three things to it here. First thing we're going to do is read a file. The second thing we're going to do is append to the file. And the third thing we're going to do is to write to the file. So I'm going to create a variable called myFile. And myFile is going to start by opening. I'm going to open, and I'm going to open the name of that file in a string. And the name of that file in a string is going to be test, capital F-I-L-E .txt. It's a good idea to have this in the same folder. In fact, you have to have this in the same folder. And the first thing I'm going to do is open it for read. So I've opened that file. Then basically I'm going to just print out the whole file. So I'm going to say print, and I'm going to print my file. And that should print my whole file out. And once I've finished printing my file out, a dot read. I'm going to read it. Once I finish printing my file out, I can then go my file dot close. Important to close them once you've opened them, so that way you can't, stuff them up. So I've got my file there. If I run this now, scroll down the bottom, that's exactly what you can see in the test file. So you can see there that you can access that file and you can read through it. Just so that we can see what we're doing here, we can actually print out, that's the whole file. I'm going to do that a few times. So I'm going to create a function. So I'm going to create a function called def, and it's going to be called display file, and it's going to read a file. That's going to be the variable that passes in. I'm going to then tab in this one here, and this one here, and this one here. And this will be called the file, is going to open a file, and that way we're going to print the file as there, and then we're going to close the file. So now if I actually type in down here, display file, and we go in inverted commas test test file .txt, and we run that, it'll do the same thing. So it should be at the bottom, should hit run. Yep, it does that. Interesting though, if I press this and change it and do a typo like test fide and hit run, it's going to throw up an error. You might not want it to do that, so let's actually fix that before we do anything else. The way we fix that is by importing something called OS, which is just short for operating system. Now that we've got the OS imported, we can put an if statement in here, and the if statement is if os.path.isFile, and this is a strange way of asking is the file existed, a file, then we do this, else print file not found. So that's a nice way of just dealing with the fact that the file might not be found. So if we do something with it now, there's some sort of error. Where's my error? Let's find it. Import OS. Oh, I didn't do import properly. Right at the top. Now it's good. Now I'll run it, and it prints out nicely, file not found. It doesn't give me an error, which is going to close my program down. So I've got the file not found there. I can fix this up just to make sure it's working, and I can run it without debugging. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I can open my file to append it. So my file is equal to open, and I'm going to open test file .txt, and I'm going to open it for A, which is append. Okay, so when I want to append this file, I can use the write command. So I can say my file.write, and I can open up the brackets here, and in text I can put this will be added to the end of the file, and press that. And just so I can do this, I'll say display file. I should close it first. My file.close. So I can say display file, and I can open up this one and pass in test file.txt, and that should be in a string like so. If I run that now, go down to the bottom, this will be added to the end of the file. If I run that again, you'll see it says this will be added to the end of the file, and it didn't create a new line. The way we fix that is by going into the string and using the escape character, which is that slash and n. And you'll notice that it's a slightly different color if you look being really observant there. So if we go run and run without debugging, it's going to whack it at the end again, but next time I run it, there we go. So we've got that file there, and this will be added to the end of the file. The final one we're going to do is the write file. Now the write file will create a file if it doesn't already exist. So if I can say new file is equal to open, and I create a file called aaaaaaa.txt, and we do it for write, which is W, and we say new file dot write, and we write in here hello, and then we say display file, we show new file dot close like that. I should be able to test this another way, so I can go file. If we look here, there is no file called AAAAR up the top. If we run this now and we go back up here, there it is there. Lots of A's in a text file. That wasn't there before. So we've created that file, and if I open that, so go file, open, and I open that one there, it says hello. So we can see there that we can create a file. Possible problems that if I actually go same file equals open, and I open the exact same file again, which is, how many A's did I do? That's a terrible name. A, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wow, hang on. Let's just copy this. Don't ever do that again. Control C, Control V, that'll make sure it's right. And we open it for write. And this time we write into it. Let's just do copy this whole section, hey? Control C. Oh, we can't copy that whole section because that's the same file now. And we write, oh no. Okay, and close the file. Now if we run this, if we look at this file here, it now says oh no, because I've overwritten it. So we need to be aware that when you open a file, with write, you literally overwrite it. So you're overwriting whatever's there. And if it doesn't exist, you can create it. But you might want to check and see if it is there before you overwrite it, if you're not intending on overwriting it. So that's 3 things you can do with files. You can open them to read, you can open them to test, and you can open them to append, and you can open them to write. I will do one more thing though before we do this, and that will be in the read file section. So I'm going to create a new file down here. I'll call it one more thing. So I can say open, next file. These are variable names. It doesn't really matter what you call them. You could call it Bob if you really wanted to, but I wouldn't. Is open, and I'm going to open the test file.txt, and I've forgotten my inverted commas again. and I'm going to open it for read, and then I'm basically going to write in for line in next file, and then I'm going to print out the words new line in file, like so, and then I'm going to plus the line, and you'll see what this does now. So that's the last thing we're going to do. We're going to run that now, and you can see there's actually, for each line in the file, it's gone and basically printed them out one by one. So you can actually step through that file and print them out one by one and look at each line in the file. You could then save that file or look at those lines in a string. You can edit the string and change it and then rewrite it. So you can see that you can create or work through files in a fairly powerful way. The most simple use for a file is to remember something between the times you run the program, like a high score, but you can use it for fairly complicated processing as well.